From the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, to around the globe. You're listening to Shark Bite Biz, your exclusive place for business strategy, sales, marketing, and tech in the roaring 20s. And now, here's your host, David Strausser.
Good day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I'm your glamorous host, David Strausser, and welcome to the newest episode of Shark Bite Biz, your place to grow a business during complete chaos. We got a great episode slated for you all today. Something I think you will all appreciate as we are living in a digital meeting world. First though, remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can now click the join button. Join the channel. For $3 a month, you too can become a baby shark. You can also go to our coffee brand, deadhousecoffee.com. Again, that's deadhousecoffee.com. Use the code SHARK. You get 20% off of your order, and all proceeds directly support us producing the biggest, best show we possibly can. So let's get back to today's show. We're going to hear an awesome story of an entrepreneur who beat cancer and kept her dreams alive throughout it all, creating an awesome business and really helping everyone in her industry grow. On top of that, we're going to have some awesome tips and pointers, you can say, that will help you do your best to be the best you can possibly be during your next Zoom call. So who is today's guest? Oh, so glad you asked. Renee Dalo. Wedding planning wasn't always in the cards for Renee. Instead, that started out as a seemingly one-time favor for a friend, evolved into a thriving side hustle to her acting career. When it was her turn to walk down the aisle, she flipped the script and discovered that the wedding industry was truly where she belonged. Shortly after her I-Do's, she started Moxie Bright Events, a boutique wedding planning company, and never looked back. Renee is a fan favorite on the speaking circuit, taking the stage at national and international conferences across the country, including Alt Summit, Wedding MBA, and Creative at Heart, among others. She is recognized across the industry, having earned a coveted spot on Honeybook's 20 on the Rise list, and she contributes frequently to industry publications. She currently serves as the president of WIPA, Southern California, and also held leadership roles in the Association of Bridal Consultants and the Rising Tide Society. So, hey, let's not delay any longer. Let's bring Renee on in here.
Personal growth.
Renee, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. You, my friend, you just became Shark Bait.
Oh my gosh, that sounds dangerous, actually. Do I want to be sure? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Very dangerous place here, so watch out. Though I'm very happy to have you on, and we always start the show with same question to kind of get the conversation rolling. Who are you? Where you been? What do you do? What's your experience? Basically, tell us in a nutshell, what makes Renee Renee?
Who am I? Such a
big
question.
question.
Yeah, such a loaded question.
But yet I frame it as the easy question to kick everything off.
Just a softball to start. Who am I? I'm a wedding planner and an educator and a podcast host. That's one answer I give. Another answer I give is I'm a wife and dog mom, sushi addict.
Okay.
I'm
a sushi addict.
Oh yeah, pretty much can't find me without an iced tea in my hand. Although as I look down, my glass is currently empty because I drank it all. I'm originally from New York, so I'm a New Yorker. That's a big part of my personality. I cuss. That's like, I'm from Brooklyn, so that's pretty much just baked into my bloodstream at this point. And I used to be in musical theater. So I used to be a musical theater performer. I did a bunch of road shows where I was traveling the country. So I've been to every state in the contiguous US and Alaska, but not Hawaii. So that's a little feather in my cap, although I don't remember most of it. A lot of it was just the inside of a bus and the inside of a theater. I can still say like my feet have been on the ground in every state in this country. And, I planned my own wedding a million years ago and then became a wedding planner, which is a typical story. But everything I did before that and everything I've done after that is pretty much the thing that is the difference, right?
Okay. That's pretty awesome. Definitely you have some travels around there. I
Yes.
love travel. I have not gotten to all 50 states yet. I am in the 30s though, I think, last time I
Nice.
counted. So
That's impressive. I mean, some of the states, to
maybe
be
even
honest,
40s.
don't have a lot to like bring you in if you're not already in a
Mhm.
truck and bus tour, like going across the country. Like there are some that you're like, what's here to see, really, in a way.
I
Don't
mean,
hate me, flyover states. I'm just saying.
yeah. No, I'm just thinking here. I think Oregon, Idaho, the
Mhm.
Dakotas, Montana are states I've not been to Louisiana yet,
Oh,
and
really?
I
You haven't been
haven't
to New
been.
Orleans?
No, I've never been
Gotta
there,
get to New
or
Orleans.
I don't think Alabama, Arkansas are the two other states, and
Hmm.
then it would probably be up here in the far Northeast, like Maine. I don't think I've
Gorgeous.
been to New Hampshire or Vermont yet, but everything else I've kind of got. I mean, I slept through Rhode Island once, so
You're really easy to sleep through Rhode Island. I will tell you
yeah.
this: if you're ever in Nashua, New Hampshire, or thereabouts, they have a grinder shop there called NATO's that my family
Hmm.
really likes, and we have driven many hours to go to NATO's. I hope it's still open now that I say that. Who knows about with
I'll
COVID,
be
but
going out there and they're closed, and I'm
you'd
like,
be like,
dang
I
it,
came all
Renee.
this way. There's also a really excellent Italian restaurant in Oklahoma City, which I'm pretty sure has something to do with the witness protection program, but I'm not like, I walked in and was like, this feels like Brooklyn. And everyone on tour with me was like, shut up. I'm like, oh, right. So yeah, I have culinary adventures from the States is what I can share with you.
That's great. That's great. So, I mean, obviously, you've got a pretty rocket, robust personality that really shines, which I think really goes into the topic that we're going to be talking today about, just really connecting authentically while you're on camera.
Yeah. So has there ever been a year where we spent more time on camera if we're not actors?
Nope.
No. There's never been a time in history. It's a strange thing happened when COVID hit. I mean, I've literally been sitting at this desk since March, of
Yeah.
2020. So I think we had to get really comfortable really quickly with this mode of communication. And I think now that we've been in it almost a year, definitely it's ebbed and flowed. Like I think at first everyone was like hyper aware of themselves. Then it kind of went into like, at least in my
Yep.
experience, this like real like I'm just going to show up in sweatpants with dirty hair and everyone's going to deal with it like summertime. Then it kind of
Yep.
by the holidays people were more like, oh, we're going to dress up for our Zooms again. And now we're at least in California we're in this never ending quarantine. So
We're going to be elegant again.
we're on the upswing again of like I'm going to wear makeup. But no, I think what's interesting about it is that we were forced into this, right? It wasn't no
Oh,
one really
yeah.
went willingly into the Zoom land of doing all business and all conversations this way. But
Mhm.
it occurred to me as as we were ramping up into this that like I was uniquely suited for this because of my acting background. And
Right.
also because I've been actually doing my client consultations, like my sales calls with potential
Yeah.
wedding planning clients on Skype for years. Like well
Yeah.
after Skype was like trendy, I was still like, can we get on Skype? And people are like, I don't even know if I have it. I'm like, download it. It's going to be great because LA has a lot of traffic. Los Angeles,
Yeah.
it's possible in LA that I could drive 2 hours to meet a client that didn't hire me. And once I figured that out, I was like, that is not going to be my life. I can't because there's
I lived
not
in
enough hours
LA
in the
for
day.
4 years. I lived in LA for 4 years.
And you were on the
And
freeway for most of it, I bet.
um, actually, do you know Azusa?
Yeah, for the
Okay,
colleges.
so yeah. Azusa is like the best kept secret in LA, I think, because of the fact that, like, if I belong to the City Club in downtown LA, if I wanted
Yeah.
to drive down there, I can go almost any time of the day. I'd get down there in 40 minutes. Now to get home, okay, that's another story. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sitting on like
The
right
210.
there, getting onto the 210 with the trying to think of it, the 60 something highway out there that comes up like through Pomona up there
Yeah.
on the highway. Okay. And like at that intersection where you get onto the 210, I mean, I'm literally 3 miles from my house. I could sit there for 45 minutes to 2 hours.
Yep.
It was horrible.
It's horrible. So, and listen, I do pre-pandemic, right? Back in regular times, I was doing plenty of client meetings where I'd leave my house, but the consult meeting, you're not getting paid yet. So why in the world would I drive for 2 hours to sit with someone who may or may not be interested enough to hire me? And then I'm driving 2 hours home. And then I'm like, wow, that was 4 hours of my life that I'll never get back. So, I don't, I said earlier, I was uniquely suited. Many people are suited to this, and we've all adapted, certainly. But there were things that I realized I'd been doing for years that I was like, I should tell people this to sort of speed up the learning curve,
Right.
Because we've had to just get used to it, and it's just had to be, it's just commonplace now, right? It's got on a Zoom.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I Zoom with my father. I Zoom with my niece who's 9. Like everyone Zooms.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Because when I look at it, a year before the pandemic, we'd always do video calls, stuff like that through work, usually with teams, and barely anybody would have their camera on. They would hate having to put their camera on. Now it's just automatic. Camera's already on, always on. This is how we work.
Yes. And this is also why we end up with like memes about like the guy who didn't know he was on camera without pants on or something. We've gotten so used to it that now this seems normal, which is kind of exciting, I think, and that we're all sort of expanding our edges a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the positives that the pandemic forced us to really embrace technology that's been around for a while, but it wasn't adopted, I think, the way that it was meant to be. Now it's starting to be, formally adopted across the board. But it's funny because you bring up Skype, and that is so old school. I don't see anything wrong with Skype, but when I was first kicking off the podcast and I'm trying to figure out what software do I want to use to record the actual interviews itself, it was like, hey, let's do Skype. That's easy. And I started telling people, and of course it had to be my LA friends, like, yuck, Skype, like, don't you
we're
use
very
Zoom?
Judgmental here.
Yeah.
Skype, it's like, when you tell people you used to Skype, it's like saying you used to have a Hotmail account. It's kind of that same.
An AOL. Email. You're right.
Yeah. So when I'm like, I've been doing this video call since Skype, like, of course, millennials and now Gen Z are like, ew, how old are you? I'm like, let's not talk about that, children. We don't talk about that. Older than you think is my answer.
We should talk about ICQ then a while.
Yes.
Oh, we're not going back that old school?
No, not that far. I refuse to acknowledge that's how far.
It's funny because just in the previous interview I recorded, we were actually talking about AOL keywords.
Oh, how funny. My husband still has an AOL account. He's 10 years older than me, though. So I tease him relentlessly about it because I'm like, listen, Joe, no one's emailing you on that account. He's like, no, it's my junk mail. I'm like, still, though, can you get rid of it? It's not good.
Yeah.
Funny.
No, definitely. I mean, I still see every now and then an AOL email, and it's like, so wow. Funny. Now I understand why you're using Excel and you have not bought a modern ERP solution yet, like me.
Right.
But anyways, so we kind of lay down the basis. Everybody is, maybe they're still working in the office and still have some in-person stuff, but chances are with everybody that's outside of those 4 walls, or maybe they have limited capacity, they're still doing video calls, whether it's friends or family, a lot more than what they were doing a year ago. I mean, that's undoubted across the board.
Yeah. And I don't think it's going to go back to normal anytime soon. Like I even see it with my, I think it's going to be a hybrid. And I think even with like, some of our friends, we have a friend who relocated to Hawaii for part of the pandemic for work.
Hold on. You have friends?
I have some friends, it's true, that are not in the wedding industry, believe it or not.
Ooh,
like, what? How'd that happen? They're old. They were from before. But one of our friends relocated to Hawaii, and he keeps FaceTiming my husband instead of just calling. And my husband's like, what is this? I'm like, no, this is 2021. We're just video calling now. Get used to it. Also, I think he wants to show off and show us the beach, which I'm happy to see. I'll take it.
Yeah. I actually get annoyed by phone calls anymore. I don't care if they're video calls or phone calls.
Yeah,
I just don't.
I agree.
Unless it's a customer, I just don't answer the phone.
Yeah, something better be on fire if someone's calling me.
Yeah, literally. Like you look at my voicemail. I just cleaned it up, but I already have all the messages that aren't even. I don't even listen to them. I don't know. Does that make me bad?
No, I do the same. I actually am a big stickler for like scheduled phone calls. Like if you want to talk to me, schedule it through my Calendly, put it on the calendar. If it's not on the Google Calendar, it's literally not happening. I live and die by that
Unless
thing.
you're
So,
buying something from me, that's the exception.
well,
I'm
even
always
that.
open for customers.
Well, for my clients, I think it's less stressful for them, for my wedding planning clients, to just know that they have a time to talk to me. Because sometimes when they're calling me, I'm doing this or I'm in a meeting with someone else and they're like, where is she? I'm like, well, there's many, many of you, dear clients. So for me, it's more of for their peace of mind, they know, okay, I'm going to talk to her tomorrow at 2. It's easier.
Yeah.
Picking up the
I
phone,
guess
when
so.
the phone rings, it's a lot of anxiety. Like, who is it? What do you want? I'm in the middle of something.
That's what I get when my parents call me. Hope they're not listening. I might have to edit that out.
Parents, we love you. But at my age, when my parents call me, I'm like, who died? What's happening? Do I need to pick it up right now? Yeah.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit then about, we're doing all this video calling, whatever we want to call it, video webinars, video conferences. Besides the etiquette of actually wearing pants, what other type of main etiquettes do you think that there are that people really need to? Because I think for a lot of people, if they're not real strong on this front, I mean, during this time period, because it is going to be an extended time period, might be around in a hybrid format forever now. It's going to hurt their careers. It's going to limit potential, promotions, things like that. They can't sell themselves like they used to in person.
I think the if you do nothing else, you need to get good lighting. I have just seen too many people trying to Zoom from like a dark corner of their house where it looks like they're in a cave and they're backlit so you can't see their face. And that is very off-putting. Like, even if you know them and you love them, if you can't see someone's facial expressions, even if they're not doing that much, you still go, okay, there's a disconnect there. It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like you are having a conversation with them if you can't see their face. So, I mean, at this point in the pandemic, I think if you can't invest in a light, that's fine. But also, you can also just move your desk or your computer in front of a window. Like at the very least, do not sit with your back to a window.
2, 3, 4. I got 5 lights here on me.
I have 4 lights on right now. I have a ring light, 2 side lights, and an overhead light. And I usually have a light behind me lighting up the wall a little, but I turned it off because it's getting too hot in here. Because I'm in California. It's hot here.
I feel the lights are hot. That's a downside. But no, I totally agree with that. The lighting is a very important aspect. What else do you have as far as gaining that authenticity?
Yeah, here's a little cheat if you really don't want to invest in a light, or if you only invest in one light. If you get one of these calligraphy pads, it's like a big, it's like 8.5 by 11. And you open it up so it's bright white and you stick it under your chin or stick it on your desk. It lights up your face.
Hold on. Now remove it.
You kind of can't see it as much with me because I have so many lights on. But
no, you can.
You can see it if I hold it.
They may not be able to see it. Yeah, they may not be able to see it that clearly in the recorded video, but the live video comes out much higher definition, and you can see the subtle changes. Yeah,
it's like a $10 fix, y'all. Just get a calligraphy and stick it under your chin, stick it on the desk. It's great. Because really, like, lighting is key, and also just like your face. I know that's going to sound like, what are you talking about? So I think a lot of times, like, we've been so aware of our own faces now because of Zoom. Yeah. And that's
why I cover mine with the notes, because I don't want to look at mine. I'll look at yours.
Right. So that's one thing you can do, right? Is cover your own face if you really can't handle it. But I actually think it's more of like a learning tool to kind of see myself peripherally. But there's 2 things that I see people doing that I think we need to, that we can do better. Is that, one, people look at themselves instead of the camera. So I'm looking at the camera right now, which looks like I'm looking at you. But if I look at myself, it looks like I'm distracted and looking away, right?
Right.
And but our natural instinct is going to be to look at ourselves or look at the person, in which case I can tell that I'm looking at you, but to you, what does this look like? It looks like I'm looking away slightly.
Yep.
Right. So if we just train ourselves to look at the little camera on our computers, or if you have a webcam, look at the camera just the whole time, which also helps you, because then you don't end up looking at yourself the whole time and thinking, do I look like that? Is that what I look like? But then also, like, active listening is a real skill that needs to be developed. So a lot of times, especially if you're in like a group meeting, it's really easy. Your listening face might look like this, which is a fine face. Not going to say that's your face, right? But this also could read as annoyed or disinterested or super bored. And so what I have developed over the year is just like a little more active listening face where it's like I'm present, I'm here, I'm going to nod every so often, I'm going to smile a lot when I'm listening to you, so that you know I'm like, so especially on a sales call with a potential client, like they need to know that you're connected to to right? And especially
you're making me so hyper sensitized to all the stuff that I do.
I know
Because my first couple episodes I was kind of okay.
Yeah, you're like, I'm seriously listening to you.
I learned how to be a podcast host after doing like 70 interviews, and
yes,
things have changed. It wasn't that I was disinterested in anything. It's just that I learned. I grew.
We're not used to, as a culture, like expressing ourselves with our face. We're really not. Like we're used to like verbally saying like, like we're very verbal as a culture, but you can't do that on Zoom, especially in a big meeting, because as soon as you have any verbal anything, if the Zoom isn't set up the way we can set it up with like pins and spotlights, if you cough the Zoom will come to you, right, and then it'll be on you coughing, right, or you're muted. So we have to come up with different and more exciting ways to show that we're like actively engaged in listening. And sometimes it's just as easy as like smiling through a sentence, which I just did, which looked normal.
Yeah. That's
right.
It looks, actually, besides the creepiness, it does look normal.
Right. And that's the thing, like you can feel self-conscious about it, or you can just go like, this is what's happening now. And it isn't normal that you walk around all day going like, everything's great. But it feels better on camera. Right. It feels better on camera if you're just smiling, especially at your clients, unless they're telling you something sad, obviously, like have an appropriate reaction. But your resting bitch face doesn't work here. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I have a pro tip for you on this matter.
Tell me.
I have my own little like 30-second video where I'm just like this sitting for conferences I know I am not going to have to speak at, like internal meetings or whatever, but they make us have our cameras on, and it's like, dude, I run the whole Northeast. I got other stuff to do. I don't care about this. Put it on, mute the mic, and occasionally I'll hit like a smiley face or something like that emoji in the chat, and until someone listens to this podcast and hears it, nobody at the company knows.
My husband does that because he's a stand-up comic, as many other things that he does. He's also a TV producer, but when he does the stand-up comedy shows virtually, you have to sit there for like 2 hours and listen to all the other comics, and he's there listening, but it's hard to do this for 2 hours. So he does have a similar thing. I can't believe I just said that. Hopefully if you don't know, no one paying attention, he's very much on there listening. I think I'm going to get in trouble when he hears this.
Exactly. Where does he do his stand-up at?
I don't want to tell you now because I'm going to get in trouble. In and around Los Angeles.
Okay. No, I ask because we've had some comedians here on the show from out there at the Comedy Store have been on the show. So just wanted to throw it out there.
You may or may not know my husband. He's also a TV producer, so he's worked on reality TV shows for a while. So he knows a lot of people. He did Punk'd for 12 years or 13 years now, so he knows all those peeps.
That sounds fun. Now, if you think the loop video is bad,
no, I think it's genius.
Okay. So I also have another play that I do when I just want to be left alone in the office because I'm watching Netflix or whatever. That's when I have pre-recorded conference calls that I just play on a YouTube channel. Whole family thinks, daddy's in a meeting. But really, I'm sitting here binge watching Netflix.
Love that. We actually put because I also have my own podcast and I record everything from right here now. Yeah. So we actually put a slider on my office door that says recording or on or off so that Joe knows and anyone knows, like, you can't come in here because I'm recording.
Yep.
It's also the doors behind me, so you wouldn't be able to see them. Anyway, we've adapted. We've adapted to this new normal with all kinds of things.
That brings up a good question. If you are working from home, whether it's in like once a week or every day right now, if you're doing a lot of virtual calls, is it good to have something like that so that people know, like, he's in a call, he's busy,
100%.
Mike?
Hot mic, 100%. Well, because so much is not up to us when we're working from home,
Yeah.
and even recording the podcast here, which we didn't do pre-pandemic. We went to a studio. Like I'll be sitting here recording the podcast and I'm like, oh, it's Monday. Here come the gardeners. Damn it. And it's like, there are just things we forget also because it's like a never ending Tuesday around here. I don't know about you, but I never know what day it is. So,
I think it's Thursday right now.
I know, but I just say everything's it always feels like Tuesday to me, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even Fridays don't have that like special Friday magic anymore. It's just like, what's today?
Everything's one big blur.
Yes. So yeah, I think it's sign on the door or like little door knocker tab, like mom's in a meeting, do not come in. Although in our case, that would be our dogs who can't read. Anything that you can kind of preserve your peace at this point in this process, I think is good.
Pre-recorded conference calls. There you go. Validated. So let's talk about the setup tips to optimize space. What kind of suggestions do you have in that area for us?
I think this pandemic, I mean, like every square inch of our house is now utilized for like double duty, because we're like we literally moved the dining room table over to fit the Peloton in. Like, I know that's a first world problem, but still I was like, so we're moving the place where we eat so that we can work out. Okay. Like makes sense. As I think I've mentioned, this desk that I'm sitting at is also where I record everything. So all my lights are around here and my microphone is here. It's also the desk that I work at because we don't have space for me to have a recording area, although I'm working on that. I'm lobbying really hard to like get rid of some of the furniture in here to have like a separate little space. But I think too, if you don't have even this kind of setup, I imagine my friends back home in New York City apartments, like if all you have is a laptop and a stack of books, go for it. Just make sure that you have it like this stack of books back here is actually my laptop stack. It's the proper height for me to put it in front of my face with a laptop on top of it so that the camera is above me. Pro tip for life. Never put a camera underneath your chin, ever. It should always be slightly higher so that you don't have 17 chins. The thinnest people in the world will have 17 chins if you put the camera down here. It's just, that's just math. It's not math.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things that I see. People either have that upward view and it's like, not good. No bueno,
or
change
this.
that. Or they're doing, I don't know if I could say this, I guess you can, but like, the old people, I'll use the politically correct words, old people moves where you're getting like their forehead or from their nose up.
Yeah, that happens. We have a family call every Sunday and that happens a lot in the family call. Various uncles and stepfathers and grandfathers who are just like, I don't know. And you get like half a nostril and an ear and you're like, okay, can you pull the camera away though? Can you just a little farther out? So yeah, cameras should always be eye level and above, always. And then if you need a book stack, just get your little book stack. Hopefully you have books you've already read and put your laptop on top of it so that in a pinch, you're good to go. I also like to have I have some various clothing items here just in case a Zoom pops up and that I am unaware of or forgot about. And I'm like, put on a better sweater or shirt or bra. Yeah. Can I say that? Sometimes you just got to throw on a bra.
Yeah. I do that occasionally too. So what about as far as having a professional background? Everybody's working from home. You know the situation. Some people don't have really much of a choice where they work. It's like, hey, we were all thrown in that. I think people are understanding, but realistically, what should you aim for?
Well, it's funny. As you said that, I thought about that. Did you see that meme that went around about there was an actor, this like young actor in Hollywood. He was auditioning for some major director in his seriously crappy apartment, and the director didn't know that he wasn't muted and commented on it right before the guy's audition. And it was really like, you can find it on Twitter. It really is heartbreaking to listen to because the director is just not a nice person. And this poor actor had to be like, he actually said like, yeah, man, sorry, I don't live in a better place, but hey, give me this job and I'll get a better place. Like he played it off like, but oh my God, my heart was breaking for him. Yeah, we definitely are in a place now where we're seeing way more of our coworkers' homes than we ever intended to. This behind me is an actual wall that we painted white, and those little squares are stickers. I'm actually noticing that this is crooked now. That's bothering me. But Zoom backgrounds the virtual backgrounds are great move around a
Yeah.
lot. If you're going to do a dance, you'll definitely be able to see that it's virtual. But then also, Canva has backgrounds you can customize with your logos and anything you want, really. And then also Minted, if you're in the wedding industry, Minted has really beautiful backgrounds for Zooms now. So a lot of companies are kind of taking it on themselves to like give us some options.
A whole new industry spurred up because of the pandemic. Right. Zoom background, virtual backgrounds. Yeah. And Renee, I just want to point out real quick. Okay. The wall right here is also real. The degrees, not so much, but the wall, legit. Nice. I bought those off of, you ever hear about the Wish app? I got those off of Wish, $13.99.
Oh, wait, is Wish app the one that has the really weird ads on Facebook?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. I've actually, the weirdest ones. What's funny though is that you mentioned backdrop. I was on a call before us. I was on a call with some conference organizers talking about like I'm going to do a virtual thing for them, and one of the girls said, "Oh, it's you. I knew it was you because of your background." And I was like, I thought she meant like my personal background. And I was like, what? And she's like, your background, it's always the same. And I was like, oh, this has been a long year of like, everyone's used to seeing me like this. If you follow me, like you're used to seeing this whole setup.
Wow, that's funny. Well, I don't have that cool of a background story, but
you do. I like it. It's a lot to look at.
Oh, thank you. Well, I got my pictures with Steven Tyler, Joe Perry, my Nick Foles, Alex Cooper.
Get some sports ball things back there.
Yeah, just one from when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But it's mostly rock stars. However, the one that's right behind me, I do gotta take down. But it's cool. I like it. It gives people, when you're in a wider view chat where they could see things like this with the camera, a lot of customers or whatever, they're always like, who are they? They rock stars? And I'm like, yeah, they're rock stars.
I think it's if you're an Eagles fan, you're required by law to have something in your home that celebrates the Super Bowl win, because my husband is from Philadelphia and we also have a framed situation about the sports ball.
I'm going to send you a picture of the shrine that I have right in my living room by the dining room table. I have a trophy. Lord. I have confetti. I got everything.
Don't send that, because then my husband's going to want it and it's not an option.
The official Eagles ring. I got it all.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah. It was the first Super Bowl. So I was living out in LA the year that the Eagles went in. I did not know that the Eagles obviously were going to win the Super Bowl, but I was doing really, really good out in LA with my job. Same job I have now, just I got promoted to run the Northeast now. I was a sales rep out there. And it was the first time in ever that the Eagles were actually playing twice in LA, because it just so happened that the Rams moved to LA and it was the Chargers' first season back in LA. So it was like, bam. So what I did was I got both games front row for the Chargers, and then I had it with the Eagles too. But the really cool thing is, so we were like, hey, let's go home for Christmas Day. The Eagles were playing the Raiders on Christmas Day out in Philly. So we got Christmas Day tickets, first row, Monday Night Football. But I also took part of a charity to help inner city youth in Philadelphia with Malcolm Jenkins. Yeah. Won the charity auction, which was to have lunch with the Eagles during one of their practices during the season. So we're there hanging out with the Eagles and stuff, literally a month before they went on to win the Super Bowl.
Crazy.
And it was right after Carson Wentz got injured in LA at the Rams game. We were there. In fact, there's a picture that you can see of Carson Wentz walking off the field with his towel in his head. You can see one person in the stand, and it's actually my daughter, who's 5 at the time, blowing into a popcorn bag because she was bored, and coincidentally, she was wearing a Nick Foles jersey too. So it was
funny.
It was pretty crazy. And if there's one season to have gone all in just out of pure fandom, we hit the jackpot that year.
That was the year I got a T-shirt. I'm not a sports person. My husband is only in for the Eagles, but we get married in Philadelphia, so I'm very pro Philadelphia.
Yeah, sorry. We had to. You got me going on football. I had to give some.
I'm here for. I never shame anyone's fandom. I am in the fandom of many bizarre things, and so way more insane than sports. So Yes.
Okay. Well, I did just watch, what was that? What was that show? Billions. And they've had some weird
Yes.
hobbies in that show. So I got ideas. But hey, thank you so much.
Oh,
Where
you're
can
welcome.
people get in touch with you at? Like, what's a good way for them to reach out?
Excuse me. I'm mostly on Instagram, to be honest, and Clubhouse.
Instagram.
I'm on Clubhouse a lot now. Are you on
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse?
No, because I do not like Apple. And they
Oh,
only
I'm
have Apple
sorry.
app.
Well,
Yeah.
eventually there will be an Android version of the app. I'm
There will be.
told.
I'll join when they come out with them. I just can't. Look, I'm a techie person. I like having my freedom. I like being able to load apps no matter what. I can't do the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah.
I need the
Yeah,
freedom
I
of
get that.
choice. So
I get
it is what
that.
it is. Sometimes I lose out with cool things like Clubhouse, but whatever.
Well, I will say this, Clubhouse is still in beta, and it is very in beta. Like, that thing crashes all the time.
Oh.
So it needs some kinks worked out before I think before the Android release, but hopefully they'll do it, and hopefully I'll see you on there. But Clubhouse is cool because we get to talk, and I'm a talker. I love Instagram though. Obviously I'm in the wedding industry, so of course Instagram. My Instagram, I have 3 different Instagram accounts. Just find me at Renee Dalo, my name. The other 2 are wedding planning, and I have a website. Everything's Renee Dalo everywhere.
Oh, perfect. As always, we'll have links down there in the description, whether in YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, wherever you want to watch or listen to the show. Hey, Renee, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey, and we're gonna have you back to talk about this etiquette once this all settles out. Once pandemic's over, maybe in the next 3 or 4 years, and we see kind of how this work from home or movement goes. I'd like to bring you back on to talk about how things have changed.
I'm in. I'll come back anytime.
Yep. Thank you again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow, that was an awesome chat with Renee, right? First, you all know the routine. If you found this interview helpful, if it sparked some warm and fuzzies, do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, follow button, whatever it's there. Whether you're on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, whatever it may be, whatever podcast app you're doing, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, whatever you can. We're trying to build up this community. Share the word. And if you really found this interview helpful, which I think you did because it had some really solid tips on there for all these virtual Zoom calls we're doing, okay? Do me a solid and please share this out to your network, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you're using. Let's get the word out there. Let's get Renee Dalo and Shark Bite Biz trending. Now let's get back to our rock star guest, Renee. And she had some awesome points. First, lighting is so important. Remember, many laptops have very, very crappy built-in cameras. Just make it easy, buy an external camera. You can get a much better, cheaper Logitech camera for like $40. If you really don't want to spend the money though on a proper camera, at least try to do like Renee says and have proper lighting. Don't sit in front of a window unless you are purposefully, trying to look like you're in witness protection. It just doesn't work. You're just going to be a big shadow blob, okay? And I don't like talking to shadow blobs on Zoom, you know what I mean? So don't sit in front of that window. And I'd also say, if you are a working professional and you plan on working from home on a regular basis, maybe not every day, but maybe a day or 2 a week, just grab a light. I mean, they are very, very, very cheap anymore. And it makes the world of difference when you're having these virtual chats. Helps you look a million times more presentable. And Renee did show us one of her lighting hacks, which I thought was really, really cool and actually surprised by it, which was the calligraphy book. All those white pages. Had it right there in front of her. And it was pretty gnarly. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it lit up her face. It's probably hard for you to see in the video because when you record it, it does downgrade the resolution a little bit. But when we were on the phone call, you could see a difference. Now, she didn't have all those lights. Like she was saying, we probably would even see a little bit more. And while we're at it, talking about lighting, camera, stuff like that, another thing we should do is probably, save your team the hassle of trying to translate or decipher everything you say, grab a microphone. Again, built-in laptop microphones, you're going to sound like you're underwater. Now, cameras, like I have a Logitech Brio 4K, and this is actually what I'm recording the video on right now, which is a really good high-quality camera. It's got a built-in microphone. However, if I were to record the audio on that microphone, I'd sound like I was, in a hollow room or underwater or something. I mean, it's better than a lot of other camera microphones are, but nowhere near the quality of something like my Shure here. But you don't need to go that high up with your tech. I mean, you could get a simple headset or one of the Yeti Pro microphones, blue microphones. They're pretty good, although I do think they are a little overrated. But you can go out there and get different options like that. And my son, Francisco, who actually produces this podcast, has a Yeti or a Blue Snowball, I think it is. I think it's like a $40 mic. World of difference for him with what he does. So there's a lot of cheap, affordable options out there. If you're going to be working from home, probably worth the investment to spend something that's going to be worth those couple bucks. Another big tip that Renee gave us was to look at the camera, okay? Not the image of the person on the screen. If you're looking at the image of the person on the screen, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm looking right at you. But they have no clue. You're going to look distracted to them because you're not looking at the camera. You're looking somewhere else. And I think that's one mistake a lot of people say. Now, if you're working off a laptop, I think that depending how big the laptop is, you're not going to be able to tell much of a difference. But if you're working at home, for example, I'm working off of I think these are 34-inch monitors, okay? And my laptop is actually on the side here as an extra screen that I barely use, but it's still there. There's a huge difference. But even with the camera that's on top of the screen, I mean, you can tell the difference if I'm not looking exactly at the camera. So, keep that eye contact as much as you can. But another thing that came out was the facial expressions. Like when she was talking about the resting face, that's also important. You don't want to look like you're bored or cranky when somebody else is talking. Learn how to smile. When I first started doing interviews for this podcast, one of the first things I had to learn, because my wife kept telling me, you look bored. And I swear, I wasn't bored when people were telling me their stories and stuff. I was just absorbing the info and trying to think about what I could ask them or what the next question was or how do I work in the next angle or what I want to say. I'm thinking about that stuff. And looking back at those first couple episodes, it's like, wow, David, you really do look bored. But I wasn't, Now I've learned, again, something that we've talked about this show plenty of times is kind of learning from your past. And, I've evaluated that. I realized, hey, I could improve this. So it's something I fixed on my own. So to hear Renee actually say that really resonated with me. And that's why now, when you watch these interviews, you'll see I have a smile on my face most of the time when someone's talking. Because, I don't want to give the appearance like I'm being bored. I mean, even though I'm not, again, I love what they're saying, but still. Question of the day. What was your favorite tip Renee gave us? Leave your comment down below on YouTube. And hey, do you want to be on the show? We got a new email for you. There is a waiting list, okay? But shoot an email, interviews@sharkbitebiz.com. We will get every single one of these fans out on the show. It'll be amazing. Last chance. Also, too, I just want to mention, join the channel. I'm going to mention that one more time. Join the channel. Hit that join button on YouTube. $3, you can become a baby shark, as well as make sure you go to deadhousecoffee.com. Use the code SHARK. Get 20% off your coffee purchase, and all purchases directly help this show grow. So once again, everybody knows this. I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz. We'll see you all next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Shark Bite Biz. We hope you got some insightful info from this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us through your favorite podcast app and visit us on the web at www.sharkbitebiz.com. How has business changed for you in the 20s? Email us at podcast@sharkbitebiz.com so you can join us and share your story.